Hello learners, welcome to Unit 3 of this course on Systems Programming. In this unit, we will discuss about macros and macroprocessors. We will also look at the various features of a macroprocessor and the design of a macroprocessor for an IBM 360-370 machine. The objectives of this first lecture of Unit 3 are to understand macro definitions and macro calls, differentiate between macros and subroutines, and look at the various features of the macro facility in an IBM 360-370 machine. Very often when we write programs, it is necessary to repeat some blocks of code many times instead of writing the same instructions over and over again. It is very useful to define it once and then use some sort of an abbreviation to represent the repeated lines of code. Macro instructions or macros are single line abbreviation for such group of instructions, which means that the programmer can define a single instruction to represent a block of code. And whenever the block of code needs to appear in the program, the single line abbreviation can be used. The macroprocessor will substitute the entire block whenever such single line macros are encountered. Representing all the instructions that do a specific task as a block or as a macro leads to a very good practice in programming called modular programming. Using macro facility to write assembly language programs gives a programmer the same ease of coding of writing a high-level language program without losing the advantage of using the assembly language program at the same time. Macros simplify debugging errors in programs and modification of code because when the same set of instructions are used multiple times at multiple locations within a program, it can create some other complications. Modifying a single line will lead to a Herculean task of modifying the same instruction at multiple places, whereas by using macros, it simplifies program debugging and modification. Macros facilitate standardization and are used to automate the writing of tailored systems programs. Macro instructions are usually considered an extension of the basic assembler language, and the macroprocessor is viewed as an extension of the basic assembler algorithm. Macro instruction languages do not differ much from the assembly level language except for a few instructions that are very specific to a macroprocessor. Let us now look at a simple program to understand the macro facility. Here we have an assembly language program written keeping the IBM 360-370 in mind. If we observe the program, we see that we have a set of instructions over here: load 1, item 1, add 2, item 1, store 3, item 1. We also see that the same set of instructions are repeated at another point in the program. A macro facility permits us to attach a name to the sequence and use the name instead of the repeated instructions. We now see how to write the same program using the macro facility. We have our instructions. We then define